Thank you for joining us on Tech Talk on today's Tech Show on your premium dial today 95.1 FM. Now, technology is changing how Nigerian children learn, but are teachers preparing for the digital classroom? As children attend holiday boot camps to learn coding, robotics, artificial intelligence, and other digital skills, teachers also need to upgrade their technology skills. Today, we'll look at the skills teachers need, the role of government and schools, and what teachers can do to prepare for the future. My guest is Dr. Marcel Eduep. He's Edtech Supervisor and Coordinator, and is also the CTO of Sparkathon Technology Enterprise. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are live on Facebook at Today 95.1 FM. Today 95.1 FM. You could watch us and drop your questions there. So, Doctor, let me ask you now, what does a digital classroom mean for Nigerian teachers?
Okay, so basically, a digital classroom is it contains beyond the regular setup where technology, the digital classroom. Precisely, it involves using computers, it involves using smart boards, it involves using projectors, but not just getting those things because you want to get them, but getting them because it improves learning. So basically, in today's world, we talk about the concept of personalized learning. Now, personalized learning, in the sense that you learn at your pace, growing up, it wasn't that easy. Whether you understood the subject or you didn't understand the subject, basically, do you understand it's a general concept? Yes, we do. Do you understand? Yes, as a child then. So, but with the concept of a digital classroom, you have technology that would help both the teachers follow up each child or learner from an individualistic perspective, so to speak. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Now, what digital skills do you think teachers need to have today?
Oh, thank you for that question. Primarily, every modern teacher should have basic office skills. That's standard, basic office skills, because you need these office skills for collaboration. So these days you have teachers that work with the Google Workspace for Education, teachers that work with Microsoft's the Microsoft teacher package for education too. Now you have to have that basic skill. When I mean office skill, you should be able to type, you should be able to use a word processor, you should be able to use a spreadsheet package. Yeah, those are the two basic. The art of collaboration, because you may be a co-tutor. These days we're talking about learning management systems. Okay, you should know how to make use of artificial intelligence to make your work easier. Yeah, so that's it.
Now, over time, in the last maybe 20 years or more, we normally hear about boot camps for young children, teenagers during the long break like this. But we rarely hear about any boot camp for teachers, including even training by the schools that engage them. Do you think there should be something like a boot camp for teachers during the holiday?
Yes, very, very important, because every year we have new challenges. The challenges that learners faced 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago are not the same challenges learners are facing these days. And you see that every time you tend to have one particular thing that is unique. So there's been no conscious effort, though some schools actually do that training for teachers. I know of a few schools that every time there's always a need, some of my schools too, there's always a need for a training. But I would say generally it's lacking in the system. Yes, there's a very big need for that, for such boot camps. Other countries do it. Other countries, Singapore, the United States, the United Kingdom, there's always that training where they have to, one new thing to introduce in their learning system and all of that,
Interesting. If you're listening to us, we're still on today's Tech Show, and we are discussing preparing Nigerian educators for the digital classroom. I'm with Dr. Marcel Eduep. I hope I got your surname correctly.
Yes, surprisingly. Thank you.
Now, how can technology make teaching easier, particularly for Nigerian teachers?
Wow, thank you very much. You see, that question is a very broad question, because the concept of technology is it's strictly peculiar to every system. Let me give you a good example. Now, there's no hard and fast rule for it, okay? Um, but generally, technology helps the child prepare better. I work with an autistic child, for example. Now, because of there's a software that I developed for him that works on his Chromebook. Now, he's so gifted when he's on that software. The attention that he gives, basically is something that you cannot achieve from a general learning system because he's very, very hyperactive, you know. So, aside from that, you have platforms that allow kids learn at their pace. I keep saying this very well because I wish I had this information when I was growing up. A lot of maybe issues of low esteem and all of that that came from not being probably first, second, third wouldn't have even been a problem for me. Because with technology, you have CBT, where kids can actually practice the concept of formative assessment and summative. Now, for the formative assessment, basically, they can practice on something over and over and over again until maybe they gain mastery, over that particular concept. That's where the concept of this mastery-based learning comes in. So I've seen it firsthand. Yeah, I've seen it firsthand, and it's a powerful one. Yeah.
Okay, so what should teachers know about AI in education? AI is trending in Nigeria
Yeah,
now for
yeah.
different reasons, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. But focusing on teaching now, what do you think teachers need to know about AI in education?
Okay, so I work with over 1,000 teachers every time.
Okay.
Now it turns out that the teachers I've seen that are actually very good at their job know how to harness the power of AI. Yeah. Um, AI, its application in education is limitless. You have platforms like the Google Workspace for Education. Recently, on my way down here, I've been working with a particular Canadian school. Now they introduced this concept of an LMS to it, and it's just really superb in the sense that in its very core you have artificial intelligence leading teachers in creating content and then helping in following up with the children in terms of answering questions, looking at content, so you have personalized tutors from it. So, well, I would say to put it clearly, in terms of artificial intelligence and its application, it's wide, starting from lesson creation, lesson content creation, down to the manner at which lesson is being administered. Platforms like Khan Academy, okay, they have these platforms where you can learn, ask questions on the go, on the go. And we are not taking away the role of teachers, actually, but teachers that know how to use artificial intelligence properly, those are teachers that I would say they are top educators in the country beyond the lesson content, because I think lesson content also involves with creating multimedia content, the ability to use packages like Canva, those skills in today's world, in today's teaching, is non-negotiable. It helps you create content that is alive, that is interactive, that your kids can see, and they are looking forward to learning more, because learning should be fun. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting. Now, the challenges we face in Nigeria. No matter whatever we say about digital classrooms, the challenge of electricity, the challenge of poor internet services, connectivity in Nigeria. How do you think teachers can learn technology despite this poor internet and electricity?
Good question. Yeah, the thing is, everybody has a smartphone. I want to believe, at least maybe.
We are assuming there are a lot of people who don't have a smartphone.
No, for a teacher in today's world, you should have a smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah. Aside from that, let me give you a my personal experience. Now, I worked in a particular school where the computers in that school, it's one of the schools I used to work with anyway. Now, the computers in that school it didn't have the capacity to host a simple if you want to access, I don't even know. Okay, basically, it wasn't right for that system. Yeah, but looking at it, because I'm a very strong believer that even if you're in the desert, you can teach with technology. You don't necessarily need a computer. It's relative, so to speak. If you decide to come up with audio visuals drawn, like there's this guy in one of these African countries that had to draw the entire um, Microsoft Word dashboard on the board just to make sure his kids
That's
actually had
interesting.
this visual concept. Now, I would say that in that particular school, we had tried different options for computer-based testing, but I had this inspiration and I was able to come up with a software that worked on it. And so, to put correctly, there are platforms where even areas of low internet connectivity, that's not a problem. I work with one NGO in Bauchi State. NGOs in Bauchi State. They were able to, due to the peculiarity of their environment, they were able to come up with this smart, we call it smart box.
Okay, I think
that
I've heard about
has
it.
this Raspberry Pi processor.
Yeah.
Such that it comes with a solar panel. So it's like a hub where everything you're learning in that environment, that school environment, can be sent in there. You can send in CBT, you can send in content and all of that. And it comes with tabs such that the kids in a rural environment. So primarily, part of one of the things or one of the purpose of that is to help kids even in rural areas have that say when it comes to technology. Yeah. So I would say that it's relative actually, but having these limitations is not an excuse to be innovative, with technology.
But do you think digital literacy should be made compulsory in teachers training in Nigeria?
Of course. Yeah.
Why do you think so?
When I was growing up, my when I go to see my aunt in the bank, I see people with huge glasses with typewriters, very serious. You understand? These days, you go to banks, there is no typewriter. In fact, the kid born today, except he has to go to a museum or check online.
I understand what you're
There's
talking
no
about.
concept of typewriter. If you mention typewriter, say, hey, yeah, maybe I saw it in a movie or something.
Yeah.
Um, the world, the office space today, in quotes, involves technology. We are training kids for today's world, yeah, to be masters in their trades, to come up with, to be innovators. Yeah, so you can't train them without the proper tools. Yeah. So I would say that it's very important actually. It's very important that that digital literacy amongst teachers should be made compulsory. Yeah. Some schools actually make it that if you don't do a training with a particular program, you don't have some certifications and all of that, you can't teach your child. It's just basically the standard.
Because of time, let me ask you this quick question.
Okay.
Do you think the government is doing enough when it comes to training teachers in technology?
So I would say that is relative. Okay. I would say that's relative.
What does it mean for you to say it's relative?
It seriously depends on the states.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it, because I've looked at it. Some states actually have are doing more than some other states.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say that's relative. That's the best answer I can give in that direction. Yeah.
Well, a state like Rivers, how would you rate it?
So a state like Rivers,
Yeah.
okay, a state like Rivers, we have top schools. Top, very competent schools. I would say that I'm very impressed with schools in River State.
Okay.
The norm, what you would have considered the norm for top schools, that ceiling has been dashed. When it comes to technology, so schools are putting in so much effort to ensure that their teachers. But this is from a private and individualistic
Point
perspective.
of view.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But for you, how do you think teachers themselves, you understand, can improve their digital skills, particularly during holidays? And what role also should the schools play in this improvement?
Okay, so every teacher should be a lifelong learner.
Okay.
That's the truth. The moment you stop learning, you become stale. Okay, in the world of IT, if you're teaching, things are moving so quickly. So I would say that every teacher should generally have that habit of. I know it's not easy when lesson starts. The children, it's really draining and all of that. But if you're a lifelong learner, you definitely have this flair for these tech skills. Then for schools come up with this thing we call continuous professional development, CPD. Yeah. So some schools, it's a policy for them that every year, every term, you must have at least one certification. Okay, one certificate, certification in a particular area. Some schools there's a general CPD when you know the school really needs this and that. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. So it can be from a school perspective and from an individualistic perspective.
But how can we measure a teacher's digital competence?
Yeah, there are rubrics for that.
Okay.
There are rubrics for that. There are standardized test programs for that. Again, this is relative because a school that has been on the digital space for the past 10 years, and a school that's coming in maybe at this point, that could be a factor. That also may not matter if you have a proper tech administrator. Okay, so if maybe the person has experience from different, and he's coming to a setup that has just one that's starting, it's years of experience. So there are rubrics and standardized tests for that. And I believe on that testing, content like certain application of apps, because as a teacher, for example, in today's world, you can't work without Gemini. A proper teacher, you can't work without. Google has made it so easy for education to be. You have several Google tools that you can't work without. Canva is another platform like that. So proper rubrics, and this is a very good question too. Proper rubrics that would gear teachers towards increased productivity. Yeah, that's it.
My
So you
final
can-
my final question to you: what 5 digital skills do you think every Nigerian teacher should learn?
Oh, that's a good one. First, social media.
Okay.
Yeah, social media.
Okay.
I would say that because kids these days are, this is a social media generation. Yeah. Aside from that, I'm just tired of lots of content that's little, although educational content on social media for kids to learn from. As an adult, I'm conscious of the feed that comes on my platforms. It should be tech feeds that can save the video and go and practice on that. Yeah, so I would say social media goes along. It's a very important skill, the ability to edit your videos. That's the second one, video editing.
Yeah.
That's a proper skill that if teachers today have these skills, it helps them. You cannot turn that, you can't. Videos are so important for children because the ability for them to watch something over and over and over again, they have the materials to do that. Another thing is, I would say, audio editing skills, creating proper audio messages for your lesson content. Okay, then of course graphic skills, designing posters, designing something on cardboard. Yeah, I think the last one is still prompting, AI prompting. AI prompting. Because it's not just about talking to your AI, the right way of going about it. So you can come up with a lesson plan that's okay. Yeah, you can come up with a lesson plan that enables everybody to be carried along, and you assess them correctly. Right. Thank you.
Dr. Maxwell Eduep, Edtech Supervisor and Coordinator, CTU, Sparkathon Technology Enterprise. Thank you for joining me on this segment of the show.
Thank you
I
very
hope
much.
we'll have another conversation related to this very soon.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.